post or share that only focuses on certain products. So it won't just take them to a full website. I could literally want to just promote VR Loop, boom, there is a link for that. You know, I want to just promote Mola G, boom, there's a link for that. I want to promote Amkana, boom, there's going to be a link for that. So it's going to have a lot more multi-option personalized website. It's the next phase. So we're excited about what we got. All of you that earned over $600 in commissions in 2021, you should have or what should be receiving your 1099 in an email or physical mail for those of you that maybe didn't have an email connected to your account. So you all should have or should be this week, but if you haven't yet, you know, feel free to contact us to our customer support, and we'll make sure that we get that out for you as well. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that were so life-changing that I got to learn over the weekend. I got to tell you, 21 years full-time working and building in the industry, I got to tell you that I think I've learned more over past weekend. And it was such an impactful weekend that I got so much out of last weekend that any other maybe outside conferences and conventions and seminars I have attended in the last 21 years. And obviously one of my favorite teacher, coach, I don't like to call it a speaker because I don't consider him as a speaker. I think he's a coach, he's a mentor, he's an incredible leader, and that's Mr. John C. Maxwell. Many of you, probably read the book, 21-Year Field of Laws of Leadership. Many of you probably read a lot of maybe his books as well as a lot of different articles. Maybe some of you saw him on DVD or live conference before. He's 75 years old and been doing this for 50 years. And how inspiring is it, for him to be teaching today at 75 years of age. And he said, somebody said, hey, I read your book, the first version of your first 21-Year Field of Laws of Leadership. He's like, ooh, don't read that. Read the revision one, because he said, some people say, well, I already read it. He said, well, do you understand? That was me 25 years ago. And he said, do you know how much better I am today? He said, that's why he has to always do revision. And he said, he's got a 25th anniversary one coming out this year. Almost 50% of the book is actually upgraded compared to before. And the reason I mentioned that is, how amazing is it? At his level of leadership, at his level of success, at his level of understanding success and life and failure and personal development and philosophy and everything, that he is still working on himself every day to grow. He says sometimes people ask him, he said, man, you're 75, you got, you got crazy, you got more money than you could possibly imagine to take care of your kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. He said in the history of this planet, he's written more leadership books than any other human being on the planet in history of the world. Over 85 different books. I mean, sold like crazy amount, hundreds of millions of copies. And he said, a lot of people ask him, when are you done? When are you finished? When are you going to retire? He said, do you not understand that if you finish, you are actually finished? He said, then from there, if you're not growing and if you're not striving, if you're not developing, if you're not learning, then it's not a good thing. And so he's like, only people that don't truly understand the purpose-driven life, and only people that really don't understand what success really is and what life really is all about are the people that talk like that. So it was just so powerful. It was so amazing. And there were some other incredible speakers. One of my, not speakers, teachers, one of my other favorite teacher is Michelle Williams. She's from Destiny's Child. Maybe some of you are too young to know Destiny's Child, but it's the group that Beyonce is from. Anyway, she is obviously incredible artist. She sang too, which was beautiful, but she was teaching, which was so powerful. Also a gentleman named Anthony O'Neill, who's an incredible teacher. That was powerful. One of my dear friend and an incredible coach, incredible leader, David Imonitie, he was doing some incredible leadership teaching. It was just like out of this world, life changing. It was just so good. It was so good. It was good. But I took so many notes. I've organized a few thoughts to really share with you. But I want to start off by what Mr. C Maxwell came to teach. He taught on a topic called ROF. He said a lot of times people talk about ROI, which is return on investment, return on time, ROT. But he talked about a topic called ROF, which is return on failure. And he went on to talk about, he says, sometimes you win. He said, if you want to understand life, you have to understand, sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. He said, a lot of people think you win or lose. He said, but the reality is sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. And he said, so many people go through failure, but they never get the return. They never benefit from their failure because they don't understand how to get the return on their failures. I mean, I think I could stop right there, and I think we would all say, okay, that 30-second alone has already had to given me an aha moment, and all right, that was awesome. But man, I'm telling you, it was incredible. And he went on to say, here's what he said. It was so powerful. Here's what he said. He said, when I was young, I didn't like failure. He said, when I was immature, I didn't like failure. But he said, here's a good question. He said, what would you do if failure wasn't possible? What would you do if failure wasn't possible? He said, first of all, that statement, which a lot of people talk about, he said, what they got to understand is that statement isn't true because failure not being possible is not possible. He said, if you understand this, he said, this will change your life. He said, whenever you attempt to do something, if you realize that there is always a return on your failure, if you recognize it and exercise it. He said, if you knew, here's what he said. He said, if you knew if there were return on failure, he said, you would embrace it instead of being embarrassed by it. He said, but when he was young, when he was immature, he didn't like failure because he didn't understood the value of failure. And he went on to say that people trying to think that failure is the opposite of success and failure is on the other side of success. And they think that failure and success is different, but he said that you cannot separate the two. He said there is no success without failure, and there is no failure without success. You cannot separate the two. Matter of fact, in Korea, there is an old saying, old Korean proverb. He says, mother of success. It said failure is mother of success. Is it possible for a human being to be born without mother? Not possible. Not possible, right? Not possible. Is it possible for success to be born without a failure? Not possible. Isn't that powerful? Man, if you knew there were return on failure, you would embrace it instead of being embarrassed. I mean, how powerful is that? He said one time he went to a conference, there were 5 speakers, there were 4 other speakers in front of him. And he said all 4 speakers, all they talked about was success. He said he was so annoyed. He said he felt disgusted. Dude, what are you gonna... He said he went up on stage. He said all he talked about was failure. He said there's nothing to learn from success. He said the value is in failure. He said you learn from failure. Jim Rohn said it the best. You learn more by losing than you do by winning. So why would you want to, it's like, why would you want to, want someone to only talk about their success? He said every seminar is done for 50 years. He goes around the world, talk about his failures. And as he was talking about this, he spoke Saturday afternoon. I spoke Saturday morning, and I looked at my little training I shared. I realized it's so true. 90% of the things I talked about were my failures. Why? Because in my 21-year journey, most valuable things that I've learned and most valuable things I could share with others were never about what I was achieving. It was about how I overcame my failures. So there was always lessons in the failure of how the breakthrough happened through that, not when everything was thriving and going great. It's unbelievable. So he said, keep failure and success together and don't separate them. He said, you want to succeed, then make sure that you fail together because they are not meant to be apart. They're meant to be together. All right. Yes. And the second thing, number 2, he talked about understanding the difference between good miss and a bad miss. He says success has a lot of good misses in it. He said you want good misses, but not to be just bad misses. But here's what he said next. He said, if it's a good miss, you learn. He said, if it's a good miss, you make adjustments. If it's a bad miss, you make an excuse. He says, successful people adjust their way to success. He said, unsuccessful people excuse their way from success. I see you, Sharon. I see your face. You're going, dude, that was so good. Can you say that one more time? I got you. Let me say it one more time. He says successful people adjust their way to success, while unsuccessful people excuse their way from success. He said there are good misses and bad misses, but he said the crazy part is it's the same. It's how you respond to a miss. It's how you respond to a failure that determines if it's a good miss or a bad miss. Is the failure and is the miss making you adjust, or is the failure and a miss making you make an excuse? Oh my gosh, what he said next was so powerful. I put 6 stars next to it. You know what he said? Man, it's so good. I should charge you guys just for this one sentence. I spent a lot of money to go to this conference. Here's what he said. Good excuse is your worst excuse because you actually believe in it. I know. I know how you feel. When I heard that, I wrote it down and I put like 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 stars next to it. I'm like, oh my gosh. He said, good excuses are the worst excuses because you actually believe in it. He said, when you have a bad excuse, you know it's just a bad excuse. Like, you know that it's not even real. Like, you're like, you're just making an excuse. You're like, He said, your miss is defined by how you respond to it. You learn and you change. Number 3, he says, embrace hard. This was so powerful. He said, embrace hard. He said, all great things are uphill. Success is uphill all the way. He said, you gotta have uphill hopes, but some people have uphill hopes with downhill habits. Oh my gosh. I think I should have charged you guys for that one too. That was He said, uphill hopes and downhill habits can never happen. So you'll never succeed. So you can't get uphill with downhill habits. He said it's totally, his words, he said it's totally impossible. Right? Sam, you heard it. You know what I'm talking about, right? Jonathan, you heard it. You know what I'm talking about. James, you heard it. You know what I'm talking about. Vanjil, you heard it. You know what I'm talking about. He said it's totally impossible. But however, he said, people try it every day. Uphill hope with downhill habits, people try it every day. Oh my gosh. He said, one of the worst habits is thinking that success is easy and think that you should already have it now. He said that's one of the worst habits of human beings. He said everybody thinks they should have it now. And they got uphill hopes with downhill habits. He said you have to swim upstream to success. He said no one ever drifted to a desired location. He said you have to embrace hard. He said you have to pay to read all the books. He said his father, which is a great lesson, which I'm going to do with our kids now that I've learned it over the weekend. I don't know if they're going to be excited, but I'm still going to do it. They said his father, since he was 7th grade until graduating high school, every single year they did this. His dad paid them to read good books. And there are a few books that he had them read every year. Reread it every year. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Magic of Believing. Power of Thinking. Think and Grow Rich. He had a list of all these books. And he became who he is today. His brother has built a business and gave away hundreds of millions of dollars. His sister built one of the top 28 nonprofit, by the time she was 28 years old, she built top 10 nonprofit organization in America at the time. Isn't that amazing? He said, but they believe that it's because they read the list of those books every single year and they got paid to read those books. So some people pay their kids to go out and take trash out. So why would you pay your kids to go out and do it's like what the family should do anyways, and why would you pay them to take the trash out? They said, you want them to be a trash man, trash person. No, then pay them to do what's good, which is reading a book, right? He said, many people are looking for shortcuts. He said, life is difficult. He said, many people are looking for shortcuts. He said, the longest distance between where you are and success is the shortcut. He said, the moment you accept life is difficult, the moment you accept the fact that life is difficult, the moment you embrace that life is difficult, no longer is your life gonna be difficult. Let me say that one more time. He said, the moment you embrace that life is difficult, no longer your life is difficult. You guys get it? You don't get it. All right, I'm going to say it one more time. He said, the moment you embrace that life is difficult, that's when no longer life is difficult. But if you want life to be easy, life is always going to be very difficult. So he said, so quit looking for it. Quit looking for it. He said, dream is free, but journey is not. Yes. He said, a lot of people say, man, I want to do what you do. He says, so many people tell him, I want to do what you do. He says, of course you want to do what I do. I fly in my private jet to come speak here and people take pictures and I speak and share and I'm a bestseller. Of course you want to do what I do. But he said, more important question is, do you want to do what I did? He said, it's the did. It's the did. It's the did. That's the uphill. So good. He said 5 a.m. to 11 a.m., 6 hours a day, in his office, every day, in his robe, nonstop, every day, he's writing. He wrote the most amount of leadership book as one human being has ever done in the history of mankind because 5 a.m. to 11 a.m., every day, he doesn't miss a day, every day, nonstop, he's writing. He says shortcuts don't pay in the long run. He said intentional. You have to be intentional to go uphill. If it's easy, he said it's almost always there's a problem. Isn't that good? How many of you guys think those are some powerful, amazing messages? There's so many nuggets here. It's unbelievable. Number 4, I love this one. He said, anticipate failure. If you want return on your failure, you have to anticipate failure. He said, entrepreneurs have higher failure rate. You're going where you've never gone before. And he said it's good because failure is where the return is. He said real entrepreneurs are always in their mind trying something they've never done before, going somewhere they've never gone before, and always trying new ideas and new things, new projects. Why? Because that's why entrepreneurs are successful, because they have higher failure rate. They're doing what others haven't done. But because they have a higher failure rate, not success rate, is the reason why they have a higher return in life, and that's how they become successful. He said, but as an entrepreneur, you got to remember these things. Number 1, you got to promise yourself, I will keep moving. He said, because there's always an answer. He said, you got to say to yourself, I will keep moving. And he said, the reason for that is so many entrepreneurs, when they smell fear, when they don't anticipate failure, and they don't anticipate uphill, and they don't anticipate these things, and because of it, when they see it or feel it, and they get afraid of it, they stop moving. They stop moving. He said what they don't understand is if you stop moving, action is what creates attraction of success. And if they stop moving, it will not attract anymore. If I take action on it, resources and people will come to me to take me to the next level. He said, the moment you stop, the resources and people will not come to me to take me to the next level. How powerful is that? He said, action is in traction. He said, number 2 is always adjusting. As an entrepreneur, anticipating failure, always adjusting. There's always a better answer. He said, if he did certain things certain way, next time do it. He's always trying to see how he could do it better. He said, they are either up or getting up. He said that's how all entrepreneurs who succeed, they are. They're always either up or they're getting up. That's it. They don't stay down. They don't stay down. So number 3 is I will keep believing. He said I will keep believing. When no one else believes, you believe. He said you keep on believing and you keep on doing. He said that's what separates the successful entrepreneurs versus the rest, because the rest will want to continue their downhill habits. Number 5, develop a process on getting return on your failure. He said today, it's so crazy, I had no idea. He said he has 44,000 certified coaches. 44,000 people have gone through C Maxwell program and they're certified to coach. Isn't that crazy? 44,000. Wow. He said, here's a good lesson. Process on return on your failure. He said, we teach this to all our coaches. He said, we keep repeating these 5 cycles. He said, remember, it's not a journey. It's not a journey from here to here. He said, it is cycle. He said, it is a cycle. 1 is a test. Continually testing. Let's try to do better. It's a test. Number 2 is fail. When you test a lot, you will fail a lot. More failures you have shows how many tests you have taken. Oh my gosh. Like I wish we were together and I would have high-fived somebody right now. Number 3, he said you learn. If you test a lot, you learn a lot. If you fail a lot, you learn a lot. He said number 4, improvement. When you test a lot and you value of learning he said improvement. He said the value of learning isn't the knowledge. He said that's what people don't get. He said people think learning from those experiences, the knowledge. No, no, no. The value of learning isn't the knowledge. Value of learning is in improving. Oh my gosh. But only way to improve is what? To do. See, that's what determines the goodness and badness. Because if you fail and if you learn, and if you think you learned that because you gain knowledge, you think you got value, but you don't, because value, as C Maxwell said, value isn't in the knowledge. Value is in the improving. And improving is ing, it's doing. Improving only could happen when you're actually doing in activity mode. Remember, it's not a journey. It's a cycle. It's test and fail and learn. And after that, it's improvement. And number 5 is re-enter. He went on to say this under improvement. He said, don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me what you're going to do. He said, number 5 is to re-enter. He said 5 cycles of getting return on failure. You have to re-enter again. Just because you took the test and you failed the test and you learned the test and you improved doesn't mean you stay there. You have to re-enter so you could fail better next time and learn more next time, improve even more next time. Why? Because because it doesn't matter how good you're doing, it could be done better. It doesn't matter what or however it is, it could be better. Man, I'm telling you, you're getting the lighter version because I got this directly from Mr. C Maxwell. It was so good. I mean, it was so good, but I'm hoping that you at least pick up 10% of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing it. So like, I'm just, trying to share my notes with you, but it's, obviously it's not as good as when Mr. C Maxwell was like, poof, wah, pow, poof. It was like unbelievable. He said, only way to get leaders is you got to practice the cycle. Test, fail, learn, improve, re-enter. You got to get a lot of people to go through that cycle. That's the only way you truly develop leaders. He said that's the only way to truly get the full return on your failure. Number 6, he said encourage others with your failures. Oh my gosh. He said, I talk openly about my failures. He said, because I want friends, not fans. He said, some people just talk so much about their success because they want fans. He said, no, I want friends. He said, I talk about my losses. He said, educators want to take simple things and complicate it because it makes them look smarter. And they want fans. He said communicators take complicated things and make it simple. He said if you want to impress people, talk about your success. He said if you want to impact people, talk about your failures. Oh my gosh. Is this good stuff? You guys like this? Am I the only person that likes stuff like this? I love personal development. The reason I love all this is because this is how we should live. I see some people, they read the book, they listen to the audio, they go to the seminar, but when it's time to talk about their life, when it's time to practice their activity, they do it, their normal habits. The point of these coachings and teachings and, investing in yourself, I love what they said. The greatest investment, and I've been saying this for 20 years, the greatest investment you could ever make. Patrick Bet-David just said this on Instagram. I saw him say it a few days ago. He said people are like, what currency and what should I invest in? What currency should I invest in? And he said the most valuable currency you could invest in is in US dollars, is in Bitcoin. He said it's yourself. He said you are the greatest asset. You're the greatest currency. And I agree with that. If it's time, if it's effort, it's money, you gotta invest in yourself. And I absolutely love stuff like this because I'm left Houston different. I'm telling you, I went to Houston as who I was, and I left Houston completely different. My thinking process, my talking, my words, and the energy that will come out of me will be only full of this and nothing else. He says somebody's doing something for the first time and they're new in the game and only a couple years in the game, and they're like, well, I'm going to try to be good. Mr. John C. Maxwell said, well, buddy, don't try because you're not going to be. He said, you're not going to be good at the first. He said, I'm good because I've done this 12,000 times. He said, I sold 35 million books. He said, but let me tell you something. I wasn't any good. He said, when I started, I wasn't any good. But he said, leaders understand this. Consistency compounds. Compound effect kicks in when the consistency is there. Positive or negative. Consistency, a positive or negative, it's going to compound. 85 books. So good. So good. He was so funny. He's like, some of you don't want to fail and you just want to succeed. You want to, and you only want to talk about your success and you're embarrassed of your failure instead of embracing it. And he was talking about it and he goes like, some of you don't need leadership conference. He says, some of you need therapy. So good. He said, talk about your failures. Don't just talk about your success. He said, I'm gonna fail my way forward. So good. Last one, number 7. Value the lessons. He said, to value the lessons that only failure could teach you. So good. So powerful. He talked about Nelson Mandela, how he spent so many years, the best years of his life in prison. But, you would think that you cannot be positive and learn all the things in prison. But he did greatness in prison. It all happened in that prison. I said, failure isn't a mistake. It's something you get a return on. So powerful. He said, if somebody says, hey, if you could go back and do over, what would you do different? He said, I wouldn't do anything different, not because things were good. So many things were bad. So many betrayals, so many failures, so many failed projects, and so many losses. He said, couple of wrong business relationship, I lost millions of dollars. Devastated. So many people have betrayed. So many people have hurt me over the years. So many bad deals. He said, all those things, I wouldn't do anything different. Because in my failures, in my losses, I developed character. He said, lessons I've learned in my losses, it developed my character. And I wouldn't go back and do over because I would lose my lessons and my character. Oh my gosh. All right, here's my Venmo account. I think I should charge for that one. I'm just playing, guys. So powerful. In my failures and my losses, I developed character. Lessons I've learned in my losses, it developed my character. I wouldn't go back and do over because I will lose my lessons and my character. You get a high return on your failure when you value your failure. Embrace your failure. He spoke for almost 2 hours, and he didn't talk about success for 1 minute. He only talked about failure. You know why? Because that's what's more valuable. Failure is truly your best teacher. That's how you get great return on your failure. Now, maybe you're living in a different stage than I am. I could just tell you right now, I told Sam, and I think I told Mark too, I think that weekend in Houston, I got more out of it than anyone else. And I was so fired up. I know I was one of the trainers, but I'm just telling you, I got more out of that weekend than anybody else out there. The reason for that is because I look at, where we are. We just started, a year and a half, 2 years ago, and and the journey and the challenges and the fight that we've been fighting. When we were talking about virtual reality, some of you were with us from the beginning. When we talked about virtual reality, people say you guys are crazy trying to get to the virtual reality space. When we're trying to get to the virtual reality content space, they said you're crazy getting to the virtual reality content space. When we're trying to get into the virtual reality hardware space, they said you guys are crazy trying to work in the virtual reality hardware space. When we talked about the future of metaverse and we talk about building a platform in the future where the content and commerce all in one and the opportunity in it is going to develop, they said you're crazy. And I'm telling you, in last year and a half, I've experienced a lot of failures. And I'm so fired up and so pumped up right now because what I've heard, not from me, what I've heard through Mr. C Maxwell is that failure is truly your best teacher. And that is how you get great return. He said once we understand that where we are right now is so valuable. Now, some of you set goals. Some of you set goals in 2021 and some of you didn't hit it yet. And I'm telling you, it's better for you that you didn't than you did because you've learned more than the person you hit. And there's more value in not hitting and experiencing failure than even if you hit because your character was developed through not hitting and being here. And I'm telling you, if we could embrace it, if we could anticipate it, and if we could make a decision to accept the fact that it's an uphill and we're going to go out there and put one foot in front of the other and not expect it to be easy, not expect to be a downhill, but you go out there and really truly start developing your character, your personal development and your integrity and your skills and leadership and everything else. I can't even imagine how amazing your life is going to be. Your life is going to be. Your life is going to be. My life is going to be. Our life is going to be together in the next few years of time. Isn't that amazing? So amazing. So fired up. So I had some goals in January that I didn't quite hit. So I'm fired up because I'm learning more through those times. And February is going to be amazing. March is going to be amazing. April is going to be amazing. 2022 is going to be amazing. Another couple things. This wasn't from Mr. C Maxwell. It was from a couple other speakers. I want to share with you as we close the call. He was talking about when you plant a seed, when it grows, what do you get? Another seed? No, you don't get a seed out of a seed. What do you get? You get just a tree? Do you get just one fruit? He said you get tree and many fruits, but inside of those fruits, there are many seeds. He said one seed. Jim Rohn said it the best, right? He said that you don't get what you plant. You get more than what you plant. See, you don't get what you do, you get way more than what you do. One seed turns into multiple seeds. But how does seed turn into the process? How does that process begin? Seed has to die first. Seed has to be planted in the ground and it has to die and it has to actually break in the darkness. You're right, James. A seed had to be in the dark, in the darkness, in the bad time, and it has to die and it has to break. And that's how the sprout breaks through. And that's how the beginning of one seed turning into multiple seeds later happens. And I say that because it is so important and so powerful as we go out there and focus on making 2022 amazing, that every single one of us make fresh commitment right now and really figure out what you want to accomplish or what you want to achieve and figure out where you want to be end of 2022. December 31st of year 2022, where you're going to be. December 31st of 2025, where you're going to be. Year 2030, where you're going to be. Another powerful lesson that I've learned is, and I was reminded, they didn't say this, but what they were teaching reminded me of this, of Mr. Jim Rohn's teaching, because as you know, he's foundation of my teaching. It was so powerful. He said, set a goal to be a millionaire. Not for the money, but for what it will make of you to achieve it. What that means is the true purpose having a goal is for you to gain the power to grow and change you for you to achieve it. In the opposite way of saying that is, if your goals are not bigger than you, if your goals doesn't require you to change for you to achieve it, there's actually no power in that goal for you to achieve. A lot of people try to set small goals because they think it's safer. It's not safer, it's just powerless. You have no power in weak goals that doesn't make you grow. Gold only gives you power when you have the opportunity to grow and change. You know, like some of you watch Squid Game. You know, in Squid Game, the black mask guy, the last guy, his name is Bellamy. He was in G.I. Joe. He's been in movies with Denzel Washington, Bruce Willis. He's one of the most big-time actors in Korea. I had the privilege of meeting him. I had the privilege of going to his wedding and, you know, and get to know his family. And I know his mom. I know his sister. And, you know, and I've known him for many years. But you know what's so amazing is when he was an actor in Korea, only in Korea, he set a goal to become a Hollywood movie star. And when he set a goal to be a Hollywood movie star, guess what? He didn't even speak the language. He didn't speak English. Think about it. Does that match him? Here's a guy in Korea acting, doesn't speak English, and he says, I want to be a Hollywood movie star. Does it match or does it not match? It doesn't match. He has an uncle who's a, you know, like second cousin uncle who lives out in Arizona. His name's Charlie. He's American, he's Caucasian, and anytime he started building a relationship with Uncle Charlie, and he started purposely speaking to him only in English, even though he didn't know the vocabulary, he didn't know the grammar. He used that as an opportunity to only start speaking. He never lived in America, he never went to the language school, but he starts learning the language. Why? Because his goal was so big that it had to change him. Goal didn't match him. That's why goal changed him to develop him. Does that make sense? And he became, you know, who he is today. Incredible. No different for us. No different for us. Sometimes, I'll give you just easy number, right? I was talking to a leader yesterday. He used to make $10,000 a month. You know, he lost teams and he has some leaders left and blah, blah, blah. And he said he's down to making like $1,000 a month. He's not in GPS, he's in a different company. But I've known him. I've known him because, you know, he saw me speak back in the days years ago. And anyway, so he's like, man, Mr. Bay, like, what do I do? You know, I was at $10,000 a month, and now I'm only making $1,000 a month. What do I do? He said, man, I've been trying to get to like $5,000 a month, you know, so I could start covering bills and stuff. I said, buddy, here's the key. You used to make 10 grand a month, and you're down to $1,000 a month. If you're trying to set goals to make 5 grand a month or 10 grand a month, I'm just telling you, that goal will be powerless and it will not give you the power for you to achieve it. Why? Because you don't have to grow. You don't have to change. You don't have to develop. You don't have to improve. You don't have to learn for you to achieve it because you've already done it. But when you set goals bigger than anything you've ever achieved, when you set goals higher than anything you've ever achieved, where actually when the goal doesn't match who you are right now and where you are right now, it is the only time it becomes so powerful that it will go to work and get you to go through the failure process, the process for you to learn and for you to improve and for you to go out there and actually become who you need to become for you to achieve it. That's where the power is. So we left last night with him setting a goal to make $100,000 a month by December 31st. So I know for a fact, I'm telling you right now, you can mark my words, in the next 60 days, this guy's going to be making a lot more money than he's making right now. Now, when I go in the field, I'm so excited it's February 7th because end of March, I'm going to sign up as an influencer. I'm hoping that I sign up underneath one of you. Who is it going to be? Who's going to be my sponsor? Who's going to be my sponsor? I want you to be my sponsor. Here's what I know how to do best. Here's what I love and enjoy doing the best. I'm going to recruit. I'm going to develop. I'm going to identify. I've shared that on the call before. I don't look for people to join. I don't look for people to buy. I don't look for people to sign up. I look for leaders. I look for people that wants to come in, lock arms, partner with me next 30 to 60 days, 30 to 90 days, 3 to 6 months. They want to make 5, 10, 20, $30,000 a month by they're generating their revenue in the business, and they have a long-term vision, 2 to 5 years. They want to build a multi-million-dollar company for themselves. Within the company, that's who I look for. That's who I'm going to invest my time in. That's who I'm going to be working with. That's who I'm going to be talking every single day for the next 12 months of time as I start being an influencer at the end of next month. I share that with you because I could do it, you could do it. I'm sharing these ideas with you because you could even start a month before me. Every single one of you could do it. Does it really matter how many people are in your team right now? Does it really matter how much success or failure you've experienced so far up to this point? Does it matter what your current income is, what your current rank is, what your current team looks like? Does it matter? It doesn't matter. You know what's really exciting about me joining? Someone like, well, you've done this long time, so when you join, it's going to be easy for you. Do you understand that everybody that I would have recruited if I was starting fresh, they were already kind of in. Doesn't matter if they're working or not working, they're already signed up. I can't even re-sign them up. Like, I'm going to have to literally go out there and make new people, meet new people, strangers, people I've never met, people who have never heard of who I am. I'm going to have to go out there and start completely fresh at the end of March in the next 12 months. Now, it's not going to happen in 30 days. It's not going to happen in 60 days. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be expecting an uphill for 12 months. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to embrace failure. You know what I'm going to do? You know why? In the next 12 months, I'm going to build a $100 million annual revenue generating organization leadership. Do you know why? Because I'm going to anticipate failure. And I'm going to go out there and go through the process of taking the test, failing, learning, and improving and re-entering every single day. And not just me, but everybody I work with, I'm going to make sure they go through the process every day. So I'm only sharing this to you because every single one of you have a head start than me. Every single one of you currently have more influencers and more customers and more BV, and I don't care, you only have 100 BV or 1 million BV. Every single one of you have more BV in your team right now than I do, because I haven't even started yet. And I'm just telling you right now, I am so fired up and excited to go to work and actually be able to do in the field with you guys. We're going to have a lot of open calls. We're going to have a lot of meetings. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be fun. I'm so excited to do that because as we do, you're going to understand that it's the process, it's the cycle of developing leaders and us becoming who we want to become is the best part of this business. You know, the best part of this business wasn't when $1 million check came. The best part of this business is me realizing that I'm growing and me seeing people I work with, them growing and them changing because they're activating and they're applying and they're doing all these teachings that we've been studying together over the years. So today was a longer call than usual, but I can tell you right now, yesterday at the session, we started at 9 a.m. and we didn't even take a lunch break. We went straight till like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, whatever it was. I'm telling you, even the morning, the day before, it was like 10 a.m. until like 10 o'clock at night. And man, these guys don't stop. Even afterwards, they had a nonprofit, like a gala event, man, that started at 7:30, 8 o'clock, went till midnight. And afterwards, I'm thinking now I could go some sleep, because I had a 6 a.m., go to the airport, and David's like, hey, we're going to have our, some of the close people go chat over everything that happened over the weekend. You want to go? I'm like, so, okay. So I went. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, these guys got energy. Like, you can't even imagine. Why? Because they're thinking greater things. They're living their life in abundance, full of purpose, full of loving people, and I'm telling you, that's the culture and the environment that we could all create by learning and applying a lot of these information that, I gave you 1 hour of, literally, I don't know, 20 hours, 25 hours of different things that, we got to learn and experience over the weekend. So, if you know Sam, if you know Jonathan, if you know James, or if you know Vangelia, you could probably bother them, and Mark, maybe you could bother them. They give you some notes. They may charge you, but I don't know. But anyways, have a great night, great evening, everyone. Let's have a great week. Let's have a great week.
Let's be productive. Let's help people get promoted. Let's help people win. Let's help people to develop. Let's help people to have the right expectation and embrace and anticipate failure and grow as a leader. We'll see you guys on the next call. God bless. Message me, call me, text me, Katie. She is under the little weather right now, so she couldn't be on the call today. But man, we'll talk to you guys soon, all right? Have a great night, everybody. God
All
bless.
right. Take care. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you. This is Steve in TV. I love it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I appreciate it.